Um, in the last recording, we covered chapter 1 up till verse 37. 38 of Bhagavad Gita. And today we are beginning from verse 39 and we'll be completing chapter 1 in today's recording. In this verse, Arjun is contemplating about the effects or impacts that the war might bring on the entire family and entire clan. So I will read some of these verses together and then I would explain what they mean. Kul kshaye pranashyante kul dharmaha sanatanaha dharmanashte kulam kulstram adharmaha abhivavakti uta. It is said that when the entire clan is destroyed, the Sanatan Dharma parampara gets destroyed. And then the rest of the clan, rest of the humanity also falls into adharmic or non-dharmic activities. Adharma abhibhavat Krishna pradushyanti kulah striyah strishu drushtasu varne jayate varna sankara. And when adharma or the non-dharmic activities become prevalent in the family, in the, what would we call, kul, clan, or a large society, so to say, then it impacts the women of the society and their femininity is destroyed. And with them letting go of their femininity or destruction of the femininity, the children thus born from those women do not have the desirable qualities. Sankaro narkayev kulghranam kulasvaha patanti pitra hi esham luptapin udakriyaha. Now, with the destruction of the femininity and then birth of such progenies that are not born with desirable qualities or who do not possess the desirable qualities, it is going to impact what in Hinduism is called as Pitar, which is our ancestors who are deceased and who are passed away. And a very important part of our culture is that we also have certain rituals with which we sort of include those deceased ancestors and people who have passed away. Sorry for the disturbance. So I was talking about, like, in our culture, we consider our deceased ancestors to be a part of our active lives, and there are rituals that are performed to always remember our connection with our ancestors with the help of all of those rituals. And what Arjun probably is contemplating in this particular verse is saying that when the society falls into those places where the children do not have those connections with their ancestors and do not follow those rituals because there are no elders who can advise them, who can suggest them, then all of these customs and traditions also sort of get destroyed. And clearly, this is pretty significant to the culture, and it's very significant for us to remember our elders, that it's even discussed here. And this is like one of the big concerns of Arjun while contemplating about the benefits or the merits of the war. दोषै एते कुलघ्राणां वर्णसङ्करः कारकै उत्साद्यन्ते जाति dharmah kul dharmah cha shashvata. And now he's considering the impact on the overall dharma, the overall Sanatan dharma, or the Varn Vyavastha, or the structure of the society. So how he is worrying that, when the elders are no more there to advise or to protect the women or to support the women of the society or the family or the clan, then they had to let go of their femininity. They have to probably adopt the masculinity. And then if that happens, then it eventually impacts the progeny of the families. And when the progeny is not adequately guided and they do not possess those qualities, they do not follow the customs, the rituals, and the traditions. And with the traditions getting destroyed, it eventually impacts the spirituality, religion, and traditions of the larger society in masses. So, how one action sort of impacts at such a large level is what is shown in his contemplation. Utsanna kul dharmanam manushyanam janardana narake niyatam vasah bhavati iti anushrushrum. He says that I've heard from my gurus or from my teachers that the people whose actions are responsible for destroying the dharma or destroying these traditions, they go to the hell after death, or they are always or their soul is always in pain. Aho but mahat papam kartum vyavasita vayam yati raj sukh lobhen hantum swajanah udyata. And although I've heard this from my gurus, I am surprised that how come all of us are so motivated to fight and do this deed of getting onto the war just for the sake of winning the kingdom, or to have the sukh of or the pleasure of uh, being the king, that we are ready to kill our own relatives and eventually throw the entire society towards a sort of a destruction. Yadi mam apratikaram ashastram shastrapanayah dhartarashtra rane hanyu tatame kshentaram bhavet. Now he's just ready to give it up, and he says that if that I am not going to, use my weapons, I am going to let go of my weapons. And if my enemies still want to kill me when I am unarmed, then probably it would be good for me instead of me fighting with them. And saying this, Arjun leaves his weapon, his uh, arrow and bow, and he just sits on his chariot, deeply, deeply anguished. And that is the end of chapter 1, with Sanjay saying, Sanjay Uvach, Evam Uktava Arjuna Sankhe Ratha Upasthe Upavishyat Visrijya Sasharam Chapam Shoka Samvigna Manasaha. That he's feeling so much of anguish and so much of pain and so much of dilemma inside his heart that he just has no energy to fight. And he has got build up all of his reasons and arguments for not participating in the war. So concluding first chapter, I think first chapter of Bhagavad Gita is about setting up the stage, setting up the context for what's going to come ahead, that there is a war ensuing um, in Kurukshetra. And it's also introduced us to the main characters. One is Dhritarashtra, another is Sanjay, where basically Sanjay is explaining what is happening in Kurukshetra to Dhritarashtra in his own words. So, in a way, the entire Bhagavad Gita, or all the conversation that happened between different characters, we get to know them through Sanjay's commentary to Dhritarashtra. And then we are introduced to the Kauravas, and a bit of a character sketch of Duryodhan is also presented to us, that how he is so full of proud, and uh, he just doesn't consider anybody else, although deep inside him he feels that Arjun and Bhim are mighty warriors, and they are really um, the true opponents. He doesn't consider anybody else much of an enemy or opponent, and he is just ready to fight. And then it also tells us about the Pandava side, where who all are participating from their side for the war. And it also gives a character sketch of Arjun, that he's deeply, deeply anguished. It starts with a bit of a frustration, where he is really frustrated as to why this war is happening, and why it's been sort of imposed on them that they need to be facing their own relatives and they would need to kill them. And then what sort of dilemmas are coming in his heart, and he's thinking of this from all the different aspects and parameters of dharma, adharma, pap, hell and heaven, and whether it's a righteous act or not, uh, or how it's going to impact not just him as a person, but also a larger society. So that's chapter 1. And we will do chapter 2 in the next session, which is basically the essence of entire Bhagavad Gita. So chapter 2 is very interesting, important, and is the essence of Gita. And in this chapter, we would be listening from Sri Krishna himself, how he speaks to Arjun, and how he teaches or advises or guides him to play his role in the war. I think that's all. Thank you so much. And if there is anything wrong that I understood, please feel free to correct me, because I'm also reading this Gita while I'm explaining, and I'm explaining it from my own perspective and understanding. So if there is another meaning, another perspective to understand something, I would welcome your suggestion. This is where we learn and grow together. And if there are any thoughts, any questions that you come across, please feel free to write to me or to share in the comment. Thank you. Good night.